In 4.1b, we're going to identify what a voluntary response sample and a convenience sample are, and explain how these bad sampling methods can lead to bias. So the first sampling method that is considered to be poorly done is a convenience sample. And what a convenience sample is you choose individuals who are the easiest to reach. A really good example is if you go to a mall and you see someone with a clipboard next to the store and they're just randomly selecting people that walk by. That's a convenience sample because it's very easy to reach the people as they walk by you. Here, the interviewer chooses who they want to ask. Now, if you think about it, how many times have you stopped and talked to that person? Maybe you're not even going to respond. So this is very biased because the interviewer is the one choosing and we don't always respond. Therefore, this method of convenience sample has bias in it. And bias is basically just an element where the method that you choose to use systematically favors certain outcomes. Here, in the bias of a convenience sample, if we're at the shopping mall, it's based on who the interviewer chooses, so it can be very biased on that. Maybe they're more inclined to ask females versus males, and that would be biased. Now, when you are asked what is the bias in a situation, the AP board is looking for you to identify the direction of the bias in terms of would it be overstating or understating your results. A second bad method is called the voluntary response sample. This is one in which people decide whether to join a sample in response to an open invitation. Think about how many times on your Gmail account for school does somebody send you a survey, maybe for a marketing course. You get an email and they ask you to complete a survey. That is going to be a voluntary response sample. They're going to send it to you and you're going to decide if you're going to answer it or not. So they may have chosen you for their particular sample, but if you don't answer it, there's going to be some bias in it. So the formal definition is this. It consists of people who choose themselves by responding to a general appeal. Voluntary response samples definitely show bias because people with the strong opinions are often the ones who actually answer the surveys. If you don't have an opinion, you most of the time don't even bother doing the survey. So the bias in here is people choose if they want to respond. Another big problem you have to think about if you do a voluntary response setup, how many times can they respond? If you remember back to American Idol, you used to be able to call in as many times and you could respond more than once, which is a major flaw and can cause a major bias in your sampling method. Example here on illegal immigration. In May 2010, Los Angeles City Council voted to ban most travel and contracts with the state of Arizona to protest Arizona's new immigration enforcement law. The Los Angeles Times conducted an online poll and asked if the City Council was right to pass this boycott. The results showed that 96% of the 41,068 people in the sample said, no, it is not right to pass this. Does this result represent the opinion of all Los Angeles residents? Clearly in this example, first of all, this was an online poll. So only those that have online access could answer it. And if people didn't really care about the problem, maybe they didn't even spend their time answering it also. Does this address all of Los Angeles residents? Clearly not. It only addresses those that have internet access and those that have strong opinions. So in this case, we would say that this is definitely a voluntary response sample that's taken place. It represents only the opinions of those who participated in the poll. The members of the sample probably feel much stronger about the issue than those who do not care to participate. So the direction of the bias, this 96% is clearly going to be overstated and is higher than what we would truly expect. Keep in mind, because there is bias in this problem, you do want to identify the direction of the bias so it is stronger or overstated. Let's continue on and identify the sampling method used and explain how this could lead to bias. Question 1 here. A farmer brings a juice company's several crates of oranges each week. A company inspector looks at 10 oranges from the top of each crate before deciding whether to buy all the oranges. What type of sampling is going on, and could this lead to bias? Is it a convenience sample or voluntary response? Clearly in this case, it is a convenience sample that we're seeing. And could it lead to bias? It absolutely could. We do see the convenience sample. This could lead him to think that the oranges are of better quality than they really are, if the farmer puts the best oranges on the top. So if the farmer knows that the person inspecting them looks at just the top layer, of course he's going to put the best oranges on the top. Therefore, it's going to be overstating the quality of the oranges. Question 2. ABC program Nightline once asked whether the United Nations could continue to have its headquarters in the U.S. Viewers were invited to call one telephone number to respond yes or another telephone number for no. There was a charge for calling either number. More than 186,000 callers responded, and 67% said no, it should not continue to have it in the U.S. Convenience sampling or voluntary response. Clearly, this is a voluntary response issue. So the question is, how is it overstated or understated? Well, this is probably an overstated amount, with those probably unhappy with the UN are calling in if the highest response is no. Also, you're charged for it, so you have to be really have a strong opinion on this to want to be charged money to have your vote count. So what they would say in here is that the bias is that only those who feel particularly strong about the issue are likely to respond. In this case, those who are happy with the United Nations as its headquarters in the U.S. already have what they want, and so are unlikely to worry about responding to the question. So if you're happy with the situation, why call and complain? You're not going to. This is basically their responses from those who want to complain about the current system. So it is overstated.